try to stop the shine. They try to break me, try to take me out, but I got Jesus on my side. So better for the time.
Hello everyone, this is your host Maria Duenas with the Entrepreneur Soiree, and today we are super excited to have my beautiful friend Claudia Uballez, associate producer and two-time Emmy Award winner with Acceso Total show. Welcome
Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. So before we dive right in, because I don't want to take too much time talking, because her story is just incredible, amazing, and inspiring, I just want to give you guys a little bit of a background of how Claudia and I started working together. Right before the pandemic hit, obviously we weren't expecting it to hit, and I reached out to Claudia through social media, and I was actually asking for an opportunity to see how, you know, we could work together, and it didn't go as I planned originally, but fast forward 2 years later, here we are. And 2 weeks ago, we were working on a special project, and we were just chilling, hanging out, doing our thing, and we had a little downtime, and you and I got a little personal.
Yes.
And I was just taken away just to hear your story. And I was like, this is what she does for a living. She goes out scouting people to share their amazing journey and to how they became successful. And I was like, well, why haven't we heard your story, you know? So like I said, I don't want to take much of your time, and I want you to dive right in. Please tell us, how did you get to be where you are today? Walk us through your journey.
Well, it's been an interesting journey, as I've shared with you. Unexpected. I'm the type of person that I basically go with the flow. You know, I wherever, like, I feel like God kind of shifts you, or like you get messages and all these things, or just always try to survive or figure something out. So I kind of go with the motions of life. I really don't fight it. You know, I just kind of, if I get a message or if I feel something or a need, I figure it out. You know, that's just the type of person that I've always been since I was a little girl.
Okay.
So as I mentioned to you, I was working as a marketing director for an LED company. I think I started in 2006. And I was doing well. I was thriving. I was like in my mid-20s, you know, without a bachelor's degree. I think I had 3 associate degrees.
Okay.
And it was like business, liberal arts, and
the general
ed
right?
stuff,
Okay.
you know. So I was working, you know, I had a great job because my work ethic, I'm really hardworking. I like whatever I do, I like to give my all.
Yes.
And be very present and do the best I can. First one in, last one out. And so the pandemic, you know, I'm sorry, not the pandemic, it was the recession hit.
But let's not forget, you were doing all that and making a lot of money on top of that.
Yes. So I was like making a good amount of money in my mid-20s without a bachelor's degree.
Absolutely.
I was making it was like 80 grand, you know, and for somebody in their mid-20s, it's crazy.
Exactly.
It's like almost unheard of, you know, and I was traveling, having the time of my life.
Living the dream, girl.
I was living the dream, single. I mean, I was obviously living with my parents, so that's why I had more money to spend.
Of course.
But I was living the dream. Like, I had like a brand new car, traveling here and there, business, and for pleasure as well. So it was a great time in my life. And I meet my husband, you know, and we were friends, and it just turned out to be something more. And we decided to get married, you know, and we got married in 2008, and everything was grand. It was amazing. But the recession hits, right? Yeah. So all of a sudden there's a lot of changes, management, you know, the company's tightening up. So somehow I was squeezed out of the company I was working for. It wasn't, you know, I know it wasn't my work, but it's just like the timing and everything. So I would go from making like 80 grand to zero.
All of a sudden,
in the blink of an eye. And it was challenging, you know. So my husband was working at the time, and I lost my job. Then we tried to do like some businesses, you know, like multi-level,
yes,
you know, trying to just survive, right? So obviously people, yes, you know, there were some opportunities, but at the same time, people were not willing to spend money because everybody was losing their job at the time, including my dad.
Oh, wow.
So we were all struggling, and so things get bad. You know, it gets so bad to the point where my husband and I, we have to pawn my wedding ring. My car got repoed, you know, my brand new car. It was like my Chrysler 300 that I just totally loved. No, you know, that hurt my soul, because that was a car like kind of like, it was at the time, it was my dream car in my mid-20s.
Of course, and I remember when those came out, I mean,
it was like the car to have, right? So I had like the top of the line, like fully loaded, rims, the 22s, all the sounds. I was living, I'm telling you, I was living the dream. And what ends up happening is like I had to do a volunteer repo, you know, and it's just, I had to start selling my gold. I had it like my keys, like it's just
all the valuables,
everything value, and not just any value. It was like sentimental value, you know. But we had to eat, you know. My husband and I, like, because then soon after my husband lost his job too. And
with the recession.
Okay, like it all happened.
Everything just happened
around that time. So we were like starving. Like we were legit starving. And, you know, everybody in our family was hurting financially. So it was hard to even turn to our family and ask for help. You know, like, gosh, like how are we going to ask our parents for help? How are we going to ask our people if everybody's struggling? Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not to the extreme,
right?
But
yeah, but like, you know, everybody's responsible for themselves. So we started selling everything. We started recycling, selling all my clubbing clothes from my mid-20s.
I won't be going to any club anytime
I know,
soon.
shoes, everything you can think of. We sold. I mean, we didn't even have a television. Like at one point, we didn't have nothing. No car, no television. I think we were watching things off our phone, on our laptop.
And I think you said you even sold your furniture too.
It's my furniture, like everything you can think of. When you were telling
me this, I was literally envisioning like an empty room with you,
like
your
just
husband,
our bed,
and your kids.
Like our bed. No, my kids.
But at that time,
we didn't even have our kids yet.
Got it.
So we didn't even have children. We were just newlyweds, you know, and with no money. So a few months, like just a year or two go by, and we're like trying, we're struggling. And we were doing little jobs here and there, like kind of like on commission, and just trying to make something at least to get by.
But nothing was secure.
Nothing was secure. So, you know, we're like, oh, okay, this and that. All of a sudden, here comes my daughter. You know, like I get pregnant, you know, in the middle of this, all this, you know, like not having anything to offer. You know, not having even medical insurance, not having anything. So as a mother, I know you understand this, that we need to figure things out, and we need to figure out how to feed our baby, right? So you kind of go into survival mode. Yes. So my husband and I, and it's never been done in my family, and it was hard to even admit it, you know, at first, but we had to apply for welfare. You know, we got on welfare. I had to get on Medi-Cal. I had to like take care of this like new life that was coming you know, we were waiting and waiting, but I mean,
nothing was happening. Nothing was.
God's timing is always perfect, and He knows when we need it, you know, when things should happen. And we were already married 3 years. So the timing, you know, she came, and I was scared, and we're like, how are we going to do this? You know, and just at first I was just thinking, how am I going to have this baby? First, how am I going to feed this baby? Okay. So I went through the process. Had my daughter, thankfully, you know, she was healthy. She was beautiful. Most importantly, and we made it through. But I remember looking into that little face, and I was just like, man, like I'm here. We're in this like converted, because we're at the time, my husband and I were living in a converted garage, and my parents' converted garage, and it was like a 1-bedroom, a little kitchenette, restroom, everything we needed. But at the same time, like, so we had the crib. We had our bed, and that's basically it. We didn't even have a stove. I think we had like a little skillet that we used to cook off of. And it was rough, you know, like it just seeing my baby's face, my baby girl. And I was like, man, like she deserves better.
Absolutely.
She deserves better. And I was just like, I I can't even just, I can't go to work, you know, like, because I had just had her. So I'm like, I'm going to wait 6 months. I'm going to wait 6 months because I need to provide for her. I can't.
Exactly.
I remember I would go in the welfare office and don't get me wrong. I mean, I know there's people that need it. And at the time I needed it.
Of course.
But it was just like not the environment that I wanted to be in.
You envisioned.
Yes, because I would hear
so much more.
Right. And I would hear the conversations in there, and it's like people were on welfare for years. Like they all knew each other. Like,
and it was like something where
so
it's just
normal.
like a club. Like
it was like a
like
club.
Everyone knew each other already.
Yes,
And
and
here you are.
I am. They're having, hey man, like, how you doing? Hey girl,
like, did you get your money?
Yeah.
And here you are.
And I'm like,
hoping to
yes,
probably qualify.
I wouldn't even take my kid. Like I wouldn't take my daughter. I would go by myself. I would tell my husband, just stay with our girl, with our baby girl, and let me figure it out. You know, and I would do that. But I was like, I don't want to be here. You know, I don't want to be here. And I remembered when she turned 6 months, I went to go apply to a job, you know, a marketing director, kind of what I was doing before. Okay. And so I go and I applied, and it was nearby our home. And I realized, I'm like, so right away I got hired on the spot, okay, you know, and because I was like selling myself, I had my resume, and I have all this like work experience. And then all of a sudden they're like, you know, it's going to be $12.50 an hour.
You're like, ouch.
I was like, yes, but but you don't have a bachelor's degree. And I was like, oh, you're right. I don't have a bachelor's degree.
Like, you know, like, you're right.
You know, and at the time, I think during the recession, people started getting pickier and just like have higher expectations, you know, because they can pick, you know, and they want to, you know, they're starting over and rebuilding. So obviously,
and if you were going to get paid big bucks, then you better come with a complete resume.
Correct. You know, and so I remember thinking to myself, I was like, I first took the job because I was desperate. And I remember my husband and my daughter were it was a rainy day. And I actually even have a picture of her. And like I always think of that picture. And so I go in the car and I look at her and I'm like, how am I going to be away from my little angel for $12.50 an hour? Mm-hmm. I was like, I can't. At 6 months, like, how can I do that? Like, I can't do that to her right now. You know, she needs me. And I was like, ugh. So I ended up declining the job, you know, and I was like, you know what? At that moment, I told my husband, I'm like, you know what? I'm halfway there. You know, I have my 3 associates.
Not one, but three.
I'm like, all I need is 2 years. I'm like, do you mind if I can get just financial aid, if I can just get the money, I will do my part, you know, like I'll do my best. Yes. And he's like, yeah, let's do this. Like, and I asked my mom for her support so she can help me with my daughter. And then she's like, yeah, let's do it. Like, let's go for it. Go for it. You know, we'll support you. So I started looking into it. Apparently I needed 2 more classes to transfer to a 4-year. Okay. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's get started. I got this. I start. Then soon after I get pregnant again. I'm like, God, is this a sign that I shouldn't even be in college?
Either you know, like a stay-at-home mom or what?
And then I was like, but that was not the problem. I was like, cool. I mean, nothing stops me.
Of course, you're unstoppable.
You know, so I go and I'm like, I'm going to do this. It's okay. I could be pregnant. By the time I have them, you know, then I'll
calculated everything.
So, yes, I'm like, maybe I'll take a semester off, you know, no problem. So I get started. All of a sudden, my son is a high-risk pregnancy, and then I'm bedridden. And I was in the hospital for a week. They thought I was gonna die with my son because I had this like excruciating pain in my uterus, and it was hurting the baby because I was like, you know, the pain, and I was tightening my abs, and it was just we were going through something, and and it was something about my fallopian tube. Something was wrong in my inside, and it was a scary time. So I had to stop school, you know, because I was in the hospital for over a week. So I already had missed things. So I had to like withdraw. And then of
course your health is priority.
Exactly. Right, and keeping my baby safe. And everything safe. So it felt like everything was against me, you know, and I could have been like, I don't have to do this. This is a sign, you know, this is a sign. This is a sign. No, it's not a sign. You know, it's just, it's kind of a roadblock to teach you how bad do you want it? Exactly. Are you going to come back? Yeah. Right? You know, because a lot of times it's like, you know, when you first start working out, you work out, you get hurt or like things start hurting and you're like
Forget it.
It's not for me. Yeah. It hurts, you know? And then at the same time, you're like, there's that person, but then there's another person. So like, I have to keep on working out through and I'm going to push through the pain. Absolutely. And then it's going to be a habit and I'm going to keep on going.
Exactly.
And life is the same way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I was just like, you know what? Okay, fine. I'm just going to have this baby, push him out, get back on it. Baby, and that's it. And because of what I went through, with my son, they told me that if I was to have a pregnancy again, that I would be like at risk and it could even be like they're deadly, you know? Wow. So my husband and I made a decision that I should tie my tubes and burn them off so I don't have that situation again.
Or have to worry.
And have to worry about it, you know, because it's important, yes, to keep your children alive, but at the same time to keep yourself alive. Of
course.
So you can take care of them, absolutely. Right? And be there for them. And so I had my son and I'm like, okay, I'm going back again. Just took my class, did what I had to do, transferred to a 2-year and went to a 4-year. Once I got to the 4-year, which I got into Cal State Dominguez Hills because, and I chose that school because it's a commuter school. It's a school that was not highly impacted. Yes. And I just wanted to get in and out. I needed, tell me what I need to do, take care of business, in and out, get a job. And move on, right? So I transferred out. Once I get there, I take all my classes, seek out all the professors, and then I found one that looked like he had like life experience. Okay. Met with him, had set up an appointment, and he became my mentor. His name is Chris Russo. And so Chris, Professor Russo, I sat with him and he's like, what do I need to do to get a job? Okay, I need a job. I need a job like right out of college. Like I'm hungry. Like I am hungry. Like when I tell you I'm hungry, and I have a family of everything. Yes. He's like, okay, you need to get involved. You need to get internship. You need to do this and that, and you need to get involved. Get in this. It's called PRSSA, which is a student organization for public relations, which I studied public relations and advertising. That was my major. So. Okay. He's like, get involved, but don't get involved. Like, be the chapter president. And I was like, okay, I'm a mom. I'm a mom. And most times I would be like, okay, well, whatever he says. If this is going to take me.
You asked for advice. He gave it to you. It was going to be up to me.
So I did it. I became chapter president. Did my best, grew like the membership from like 25 people to 134 in one semester. And on top of that, I even parties out. You also have to go to all the conferences. And I'm like, I don't have money, I don't have money. I have kids, and I'm on welfare. So I start recycling, to go to trips to Atlanta. I went to Houston, Arizona, to conferences to meet with professionals. Wow. And, so I did that. And it was crazy when I was chapter president. I'm like people are like, oh, I don't, younger kids are like, oh, I don't have time. I'm busy. I'm like,
you're all like, dude,
you're busy. Like, you're seriously busy. I'm ditching my children to be here with you. It's like, you're telling me you're busy. Like, I remember like I would mom them. I would take it personal. I'm like this is our life, but I guess there's a difference when you're like seriously hungry and you're trying and your children are hungry
and you're going to school because you have to, because your mom said you have to go.
Right. There's a difference. So
absolutely.
So I was not going to waste my time. I go in there, do my thing. And I'm going to college, and in the middle of everything, I fall into depression. Because I hadn't realized I was having postpartum depression. That I had.
You were always on the go.
On the go,
yes. It out.
And I was trying to figure it out, and it finally caught up to me, and it got really bad. And it was postpartum, and it was just like trauma that I haven't worked out.
Like on top of everything.
Everything,
like you needed that, right?
It like life finally caught up to me, but it was also like childhood trauma, and then like the postpartum, everything
everything
got built up, and the desperation of going to college, the stress. I think it was just everything put together because I didn't want to sacrifice my time with my children. So I would be present with them. And then as soon as they would go to bed at 9 p.m., 8:30 p.m., I'll start doing my homework and stay up till like 2, 4 in the morning, trying to get my papers done. And I think the lack of sleep, lack of eating right, drinking too much coffee, I think it finally, everything caught up with me. And I fell into depression, a really like clinical depression. It was really bad. And even then, you know, I had already put in those nuggets with professors, with people I had built that relationship with. They all noticed, so they all kind of came together and gave me an opportunity to make up what I was missing, because they sat with me and they're like, hey, what's going on, you know? And I'm just so grateful for them to actually like
they cared.
They cared.
They were in tune to what was happening.
And because of who I was before, and they paid attention, and they're like, you're not being yourself, you're not turning in your work, like what's going on, you know? This is not you. So they gave me a chance to make up, you know, my work. They're like, just turn it by then. And they told me to like get into this program called disability, because you know, being depressed, it's considered medical. Yes, and it's a disability. So I got the opportunity to take longer on my tests, you know, and everything. So through the grace of God, you know, during that moment, I had to get an internship. So it's like again, I don't know how to stop. I'm just no survival mode. Like you just go.
You're like, I'm depressed, but I still have to get things done to get to the finish line on time.
And at the same time, my husband's telling me, like, you know, I remember he would sit with me doing my homework, and he's like, Claudia, he's like, we need this. Like, you're taking time away from my kids. We need you to finish. Like,
this needs to be worth it.
Yeah, we need to finish.
We need results.
We need to finish. And I remember I'll be crying. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And I was tired. I just wanted to sleep. And it's like, you have to do it. And so there I went, finished, and I started applying for internships. I didn't even know what I applied for. And you know, when you get when you do get older, you do get a little more confident, and you're like, you aim higher, right? You don't just go with the smaller companies. You aim higher.
You just go shoot high.
And so I remember I sent so many applications, and one of them was to Comcast, NBC Universal, and several agencies, and but at first it was for the English market. So it was like for NBC, Universal Film, and all that stuff. And I was like, so I applied, but obviously it's impacted, and I'm bilingual. So they saw my resume, and they saw the potential, and they sent it to Telemundo. But I didn't know Telemundo was part of Comcast, NBC Universal yet.
They were sister companies.
Right? So they sent my resume, and they called me from Telemundo. And when they called me, they're like, Claudia, you know, we got your resume. You applied for this position. And I was like, yeah. Like in my brain, I'm like, I applied to a lot of things. I couldn't remember. And I was depressed. I'm like, maybe I forgot. Maybe I did. I don't know. But, you know, again, I go with the flow of things, you know?
You're
so I was like,
yes, I did.
Yes,
what's going on?
Let's do this. Like, you want an interview? Let's do an interview. So I got dressed up, took my resume, and they offered me the internship. And I remember I told myself, I'm like, I just need a chance. I just need a chance. I will not take it for granted. I'm grateful for my opportunity. And I was like, I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay here.
Like, I'm not going
anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. So I did my internship. First one there, last one out. Asked so many questions, like, got involved, learned every angle, every aspect, every position that could have been in there. And I ended up being, it was in production with the show Acceso Total. And so I learned how to do everything, and did my internship. At the end of the internship, I was like, I mean, is there an opportunity for me? You know, here, I love it. I want to stay here. I didn't know I would enjoy production, I would like to stay here. I want to do my best and stay here. And they're like, well, you know, everything is full, blah, blah, blah. So
we'll keep you in mind.
We'll keep you in mind. And one thing about me is I've always followed up.
Yes.
I've always followed up. And I know you follow up, so I respect that of you. I always followed up. And so after I did my internship and it ended, I during that time, it was like 3 months, Telemundo won number one. Like, they beat Univision for the first time.
Wow.
So I remembered I was like always checking in and see when I can send like a little congratulations or a thank you or happy birthday. Is it somebody's birthday? I just wanted to send my name to them so they can remember me. So they won number one, and I bought these little congratulations card for them to send
everyone.
For a couple of people, the two, like, for management. to send it to them. And sure enough, I get home and somehow my children tear it up or started coloring in it.
Oh.
You know, like it just, I was like, I didn't have money. So it's like,
You're
those
like, that
cards,
was the only card.
greeting cards are like $8 to $9.
Yes.
You know, you obviously want to send them quality. So,
of course.
They messed it up and I was like, oh, I'm going to miss my window because everything is about timing,
of
right?
Course, the right time.
The right time. So I was like, screw it. I'm going to send an email. I'm like, congratulations. You know, I know this was a goal for the whole team. I was a joy working with you. You know, please remember me. I would love to come back and be part of your team. Really short, sweet, to the point.
Straight to the point and genuine.
And genuine, yes. Yeah. So I sent it to them and they said, thank you and this and that. So around that time is when I guess a position opened up.
Oh, okay.
And they said the first name that came up to was mine, you know, because I not only when I was working, I did my best and tried to shine and everything, but I also volunteered at a lot of things. So I networked a lot. So
like they
with
knew they
HR,
were going to get their money's worth with
right,
you, for sure.
Yes. Yeah. So when they called me one day and I was literally at the gym and I was like working out, I was watching like the newscast and I was like, I hope they called me. And like, I'm not kidding. Cause 30 minutes later, the VP calls me and she's like, Claudia, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm
at the gym.
I'm at the gym. She's like, do you have a job? I'm like, not yet. I'm working on it.
I got 5 interviews.
No, I was honest, you know, and she's like, can you come tomorrow? I was like, yes. I didn't have a babysitter. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm there. I don't even have a car. So I'm like, yes, 9 a.m. tomorrow. I'll be there. Sharp. So I get there, wear my power suit, the only suit I had. And then I took my resume, I show up and
how did you get there? You didn't have a car, so
I had to borrow a car from my parents.
Okay,
I had to borrow a car from my parents, and I leave my kids with my mom. Okay. So I get to the interview, and I show up with everything, and then the VP's like, she started laughing. She's like, "Are you kidding me?" She's like I know who you are. Like she was like, she thought it was funny that you still dressed professionally and dressed the part. Printed out my resume on nice resume paper, my little folder, came in, tried to do my presentation. And she's like, do you know how to do this, and that? I was like, yes. I actually have my little notes still from how to do it, you know? So yes, I can do this. And she's like, can you start tomorrow? And I'm like, yes. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing with my kids, but absolutely. Yes, I don't know what I'm going to do with car. I don't know what I'm going to do with anything. Okay. And so, you know, I go back home, talk to my mom. She's like, yes, I'll support you. Talk to my husband. And we figured things out. And then soon after we got a little car, you know, like a basic car. Like I think I had a roll, you know, from to A to B, you know, it was like, I think just a small little basic car that I still had. I mean, it was brand new, but I still had a reverse. Yes, with AC. And I think it had a radio. It didn't even have a CD player. And so we got that just to get me to point A, point B. And the rest is history. You know, I get hired and I get hired as an intern. I get the job, but they had told me it was going to be a 1-year contract. That's the other thing too, which I could have been like, never mind. I don't, 1 year. I need something a little more secure.
Considering you had already gone through all this, jumped through hoops. I mean, you've already, proved yourself. So you're like, for a year. I don't know.
For a year. And I'm like, I have to pray for my kids. But I took a chance. I was like, you know what? I believe in myself. I believe in my work ethic.
I love it.
I'm going to stay here, So.
And I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere.
You fire me, I'll apply with a different name and I'll still show up.
I'll still show up. So I did that. And I kid you not, like 2 months in, they made me permanent. And they even X'd out the whole year contract and it became a permanent position. And I started as a talent coordinator. And which is like booking, and looking for content, looking for, guests to come on the show. So I did that, but I'm not one person to just do one thing. I'm always dabbling into things. I'm very curious.
You're in a place where you can learn
that too, and they give us
opportunity. I mean,
right, and they also give you the freedom in our department to like dabble in other things. So I dabbled with other things. All of a sudden, I started producing things, I started producing segments.
You're all things that got me awards, just like
well, it was more pitching. It was more pitching.
Yes.
But the first award, it was pitching and getting everything together and co-producing with my team. And we won our first Emmy. I think it was 2 years into the company.
Wow.
So I didn't even know what it meant, because I'm not one to get recognition. Like, I'm not like, oh my gosh, I got this. I didn't know what it meant.
Great, let's move on.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I am. I was really grateful. I'm like, oh, okay, that's nice, So my husband, this is like a big thing. And I'm like, is it? Like, I don't know what this means, but okay, I got it. Here you go, And so I keep on moving forward, and still as a talent coordinator. And then the pandemic comes through.
Of course.
And during the pandemic, we had to get creative. I mean, we didn't have a camera, we didn't have anything. And I had to record things with my phone. I had to start getting deeper into the production side of things, because we didn't have the resources but we were still on air.
Yeah, the show must go on.
Right, and then so not too long ago they made me into associate producer, and during that time is when I got the second Emmy, in something that I worked thoroughly. Like just it was myself and a few people that got in there and did it during the pandemic. So really now I know what it means to have an Emmy.
Now I know it. Now I will tell the world.
Yeah, but at the same time, you know what? The Emmys are amazing, but I think getting recognized is amazing. But at the same time, I already knew that my job I had done a great job, because I gave it my best. Whether
anyone acknowledged it or not. Like, in your heart what you're putting on the table.
Yes, and I think that, and when other people, like, my VP or management recognize, I think that for me, it means more. And also the people that I'm telling a story about, they're just so grateful and being acknowledged, to me, that's where I get more rewarding than just the statue. Personal. Right. Exactly. More than just having the statue. And it's just going and not letting anything hold you back.
Yeah. Like, regardless, you may take a break, a spot, like a break in between detour, but you keep going.
Yeah, you keep going and staying above and not letting obstacles get in the way. It's more about that no matter what happens, that you just keep on going and you keep on evolving, trying to get better each time,
and keep learning. Yeah.
And also during the pandemic, you got to remember, I was living in a converted garage.
That's right. I was just going to remind you about that.
So I just, like 7 years ago, I was living in a converted garage, and then I was able to rent a home soon after, to put my kids in a bigger space. And in 2020, my husband and I had the privilege of purchasing our first home.
I remember
where
that.
my kids.
So I'm glad you're touching on that, because that's a huge accomplishment.
It is a huge accomplishment, and see, I live more for that, because of what I can provide for my children.
Of course.
It was a beat down house. It was dirty. It was ugly. And you know what? I was like worried that my children were going to be like, oh, what is this place? Because they, like, the rentals that we had, even the converted garage, because they were my parents' properties, they were nice and they were clean. And they were like upgraded and everything. So
they really didn't know what they didn't have.
Right. Exactly. And so I was afraid they're like, oh, what's this dump? I was
this is our new home.
But we didn't tell them we were buying a home. And so, because I was afraid to let them down. So once we got the home, I literally had the keys in my hand. Like, within hours, we drove them up, and we're like, surprise, we bought you a home, and they're just like, the level of gratitude, it was just like, my children were just like running around through all the rooms, the house, back and forth, hanging from the tree. And they just kept on saying, like, thank you so much for making my dreams come true of having my own room. And I was just like, oh man, like, wow, that's where it,
it touches your heart. And you're like, this is why I do what I do.
this is why I do what I do.
Yeah.
Yes. And also like the perks that we're able to have through work, you know, like seeing the joy in my children's faces. It's like,
you're always going to the premieres and interviewing
they
celebrities
get to participate
and
all
I love
that
because they get to be a part of your journey too.
Right. And my children are included, so that's the part that makes me the happiest. You know, I think I do it more for that, you know, because I want to show my kids that, you know, like no matter what, I keep going and I do it, I get it done, I figure it out. I heal, I better myself, and I work in progress, constantly working on myself. And I think that's the biggest part. The reason why, what pushes me, what drives me ever since, remember, I had my daughter and she was 6 months, and I was like, man, I saw that face, and I tell her, I'm like, you're my muse. Like my children are my muse. Like they're the reason why I want to push forward, why I want to get better, and I still continue to get better, because now I'm pursuing my master's program
from USC,
which was so unexpected. I wasn't planning on going. Like, it's just like, again, when the opportunities come, the messages come, you need to be ready and act upon them. You know, like somebody approached me from USC. Apparently they looked at my background, my LinkedIn. That's why it's always important to have your LinkedIn up to date. No matter if you're an entrepreneur or anything, have your LinkedIn always updated, because you never know who's watching and who's looking. Also, your social media, like your Instagram, it's so important to have it open, but also like have content that is like, that represents you, your person. Because if you know me and you see my social media, you know that it's an alignment. Like it's a representation of who I really am. It's not something fake. It's not. It's just, it's like my family. What we see
is what we're going to get.
Exactly. Right. And so that it's important to have, building that brand and always being prepared, because you never know when those opportunities come. So this person from USC reached out to me, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to apply. The worst thing you can say is no, and so I went in and I applied, did the whole process, and I kid you not, I got accepted, and everything just happened so smoothly. Like the money situation, the financial, everything just started falling into place, all because I took the risk, and I just, and listened
and you
to the message, and I also believed, and it happened, and now I'm there. I'm about to complete, my first class, and I love it. And I love it. It's amazing. And I'm just so grateful that the company also like supports me, because I'm evolving as an employee.
Are the ones who are going to benefit from you in the end.
Right. Right. So, again, everything I do, every single little thing I do is for my children, because I know kids always like listen and pay attention to what you're doing. When you don't, the kids are so smart. They always will copy what you do. And if I can just do that for my kids, I try not to tell them what to do. I try to show them what I do, and then in hopes that they're going to do the same. They can follow through and do the same.
I just love it, and I can't. And I'm going to express this to you before, but it just fills my heart with so much happiness to have you here, because again, this is what you do for a living. You're out there telling everyone's story, but your story needed to be heard. I love it. I'm telling you, when my husband and I left being with you a couple weeks ago, we were both inspired. We were like, damn, like how, like I told you, what excuse do we have? Like literally, when you hear stories like yours, that you're just like, it's all up to you. It's all up to you. Yes, you could be on the verge of being homeless with children, no food, no money, but you can still find a way. Yes. If you really want it.
Yes.
Even if it means extending our hand and going out to ask for assistance, from the government or whatever in the meantime. But you did it. You didn't let your pride get in the way.
That's the big one.
That's the big one, because you could have been prideful. You could have said, you know what, I'm not, or I can't, or whatever. What is my family going to think, or what are they going to say? But you left that to the side.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And I love that. Thank you so much, Claudia, for being here with us. Now, where can our audience find more about you and learn more about what you're doing and keep up with you? Social media.
Instagram, okay. Or even LinkedIn. Claudia Uballez, Uballez. It's a different last name. So just like that, Claudia Uballez, everything's the same. My picture is pretty much the same across the board. So you can't miss me. I try to be consistent in everything that I do. Everything. That's important. That's always key, because consistency is key in everything.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, and we wish you all the best, and I can't wait to continue to work with you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Glutathione is a big word. It's the body's own master antioxidant. It's a scavenger for free radical, bacteria, and viruses. There are no products in the market with the ingredient NASET. NASET increases the production of glutathione that's in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system, elevate sense of well-being, support muscle strength and endurance, cognitive function, and liver support. It helps with increased energy and blood sugar regulation. Get your bottle of GSH Plus from www.salvationnutra.com.